Ta Huizi hated me down to the bone. In his next life, he swore he would never share the same sky with me. He arranged everything so I would replace the woman he cherished, marrying far away to the borderlands as a desperate bride for the young general. He wanted to watch me spend my life beside a lone lantern and ancient incense, condemned to solitude. But he never expected that in this life, I still sat in the central palace. Only, the one seated on the throne was no longer him. 2 imperial decrees were announced from the palace, one for me, and the other for my younger sister Song Qingyuan. This time, unlike the previous life, Song Qingyuan was given to Ta Huizi, while I, the legitimate daughter of the duke's household, was bestowed to General Hua. When the eunuch finished reading the decree, everyone kneeling before the gates of the duke's manor slowly rose. My grandmother, old in years and poor in hearing, hesitated and asked, "May I ask, eunuch, did His Majesty decree that Jin Yuan is to be married into the Hua family, and Qingyuan to His Highness Why?" The chief eunuch chuckled. Even with 10 lives, I would not dare misread His Majesty's decree. Everyone present was stunned. No matter what, I should have been the one marrying into the imperial clan, while Song Qingyuan should have been the one sent to the borderlands. Only I remained indifferent, merely watching the scene unfold. A month ago, His Majesty encountered an old Taoist during his inspection in Jiangnan. That Taoist's divinations were said to be frighteningly accurate, able to see 3 inches into heaven's secrets. It was said the Taoist had predicted the 7 days of heavy rain this month that caused the Luo River to breach. Someone like that, I never once heard of him in my previous life. Not long after the floods receded, the marriage decrees were issued. That Taoist must have predicted more than just the disaster. Suddenly, I remembered Ta Huizi's drunken fury from my past life, how he grabbed my throat, eyes bloodshot. If not for your scheming, Qingyuan would never have died miserably in that frozen wasteland. Back then, I had spared her. Letting her live was already mercy. I smiled at him. Ta Huizi, what is it that frightens you so? I am just a weak woman. You only need a little strength, and my neck would snap in your hands. He released me at last. Killing you would be pointless. I want you to live worse than death. Only after he ascended the throne did I learn that he had long loved Song Qingyuan. Childhood affection, how could anything compete with first love? After being married off to the borderlands, Song Qingyuan soon became a widow. On her attempted escape back to the capital, she died under a bandit's blade. Upon her death, the suicide letter found on her branded me as the mastermind who caused her demise. Ta Huizi hated me for years, but he needed me to secure his throne. So he feigned affection, living with me as husband and wife for many years. Song Jinyuan, he once said coldly, my greatest regret is letting a vicious woman like you become empress. In that life, he often said his deepest regret was marrying me. If there were another life, he would never share the sky with me. So this time, the decree changed. So he too, was reborn. When Song Qingyuan heard the decree, her eyes shone with barely contained joy. She walked up beside me, whispering in a voice only the two of us could hear. Little sister, I heard the borderlands are unbearably harsh. I wonder if a pampered legitimate daughter like you can survive such suffering. I ignored her, dusted off my sleeve, and stepped into the courtyard. Song Qingyuan hurried forward to block my path again. Elder sister still doesn't know, right? That young General Hua is gravely injured. If you marry over, you might even end up performing the last breath rite for him. She couldn't suppress the triumph in her eyes, covering her mouth as she laughed. If you marry him and he dies on the wedding night, you might have to remain a widow for the rest of your life. At this point, news of Hu Changfeng's serious injury had not yet reached the capital. Clearly, Ta Huizi was the one who told her. I raised a brow. You're telling me this because you want me to run. Her eyes widened instantly. Do you dare defy an imperial decree? The marriage to the Hua family. Father originally worked hard to secure it for you, yet it ended up falling to me. I looked at her, my voice calm. Do you know why father doted on you so much, yet still planned to send you to such a distant place? Under my cold gaze, her lashes trembled. Why? The smile on my lips deepened. Because he feared you wouldn't survive otherwise. Her almond eyes widened further. What do you mean by that? I curved my lips, but my voice was ice. If you don't want to die as wretchedly as your mother, don't provoke me. Song Qingyuan's birth mother had once been a maid serving beside mine. While my mother was gravely ill, she climbed into my father's bed. Mother once said that a master favoring a chambermaid was nothing unusual. But Li Yani was not a mild, obedient woman. She came from the brothel, beautiful, cunning, and entered the household to become mistress. Unfortunately for her, she arrived just as my parents were newly married and inseparable. My father sent Li Yani to my mother's courtyard to serve. Mother was strict in managing her servants. Li Yani had long held resentment. She used the excuse of caring for mother, yet secretly slept with my father in the adjoining room, letting the sound of their affair drift into my mother's chamber. But at that time, mother no longer had the energy to deal with her. She spent her remaining strength arranging all my future paths before she passed. Grandmother only cared for my younger brother, the legitimate son. My father was unreliable. If mother were gone, no one would teach me properly. It was also the time when the palace had just stabilized from turmoil. The new emperor had ascended with the support of the ministers. My mother's aunt had no blood relation to the new emperor, yet she became Empress Dowager. Mother wrote a letter begging the Empress Dowager to take me into the palace and raise me. But the old maid who served her warned, the Empress Dowager is deep-minded. If the young lady grows up beside her, I fear she may. My aunt is the most brilliant woman of our clan, mother said. She achieved the power and status she always desired. If she were a man, no one would call her calculating. If Jin Yuan is protected by her, she will grow up safe. Mother covered her mouth and coughed twice. Blood seeped between her fingers. She wiped it away casually with silk and continued writing. Candlelight flickered over her gentle brows, the ink spreading beneath her brush. Even if someone is calculating, what does it matter? As long as she can protect herself and obtain what she desires. When mother died, I was 2 years old. The Empress Dowager brought me into the palace to raise me. When I came of age and returned to the Duke's manor, I asked the Empress Dowager. Last month when I left the palace, I met Yin Tu, the maid who once served beside my mother. She told me that although mother was seriously ill, the imperial physician said she could live 2 more years. Why did she not survive even that long? The Empress Dowager's hand froze mid-air as she lifted her teacup. A ruthless glint flashed through her eyes. The imperial physician said she died of illness. But, the words of a physician cannot always be trusted. I investigated, I said. The physician who diagnosed mother retired to his hometown 3 months later and died soon after. The servants who attended her all died or were sold off. The Empress Dowager's gaze sharpened. And what have you found? I lowered my eyes. Those close to mother left no trail. So I took the servants beside grandmother and questioned them the palace way. I found that mother died from heartbreak and rage. My father and grandmother care most about appearances. In a grand household like ours, shame must be hidden. The Empress Dowager let out a cold laugh. What do you intend to do? I met her eyes. Family shame shouldn't be spread outside. Your word is all I need. When I returned to the manor, Madame Zhao, the one kidnapped by mountain bandits, was finally redeemed by grandmother and brought back. Though her wounds had barely healed, she rushed back to serve grandmother. When I entered grandmother's room to pay respects, Li Concubine arrived as well. Not long after I entered the palace in childhood, she gave birth to Song Qingyuan. In the years since, she bore another son. Father adored her. She wore silks and jewels from head to toe, decked in lavish finery, posturing like the main wife. One would never guess she was merely a concubine. Li concubine, spoiled by father's indulgence, naturally grew arrogant. Grandmother grew more displeased with her by the day. When Li concubine knelt to greet grandmother, grandmother did not ask her to rise. She simply continued chatting warmly with me. Before long, Madame Zhao carried out the tea. "This is Long Jing picked before the rains, brought out of the palace by the young lady herself," she said. "I brewed it with snow water gathered last winter from the plum blossoms." Grandmother lifted the cup and tasted it. "The fragrance is lovely." As expected, everything the Empress Dowager rewards you with is excellent. I lifted my cup and glanced at Li concubine still kneeling on the floor. I said gently, "Concubine, you should taste the tea as well." Only then did grandmother allow her to rise. She accepted the cup Madame Zhao handed her, drank 2 mouthfuls, and set it down. With an annoyed expression, she stood and bowed. "Old madam, I feel unwell." I begged to withdraw. Grandmother watched her retreating figure and let out a cold snort. Look at her arrogance. With tea this fine, she acts as though she drinks it every day. Your father is bewitched. Any good thing in this manner is sent straight to her courtyard. I curled my lips, smiling, but with no warmth. Li concubine had borne children for the Duke's household. Father's affection for her was inevitable. Grandmother looked at me. The children she bore are all concubine-born. They can't compare to you and Yuan. Whether legitimate or concubine-born, I didn't care. I only cared whether someone might obstruct the path of my brother and me. When my brother was young, grandmother spoiled him excessively. She couldn't bear to let him attend school in winter, and so at 6 years old he still hadn't begun his lessons. I begged the Empress Dowager for a long time to have Song Yuan accepted into the palace as a study companion. I supervised him every day. Only then did he achieve the learning he has now. The gold hairpin on Li concubine's head today was shaped like a peony, a style reserved for the principal wife. If she were in the palace, overstepping like that would have cost her life. I set down my cup and sighed softly. Only grandmother is magnanimous enough to tolerate it. Everyone in the household knew grandmother and Li concubine had long been at odds. Today, grandmother finally found an excuse to punish her. Li concubine knelt under the blazing sun for a full hour. She wasn't allowed to enter the house until father returned. They said that night she cried miserably, and father stayed to comfort her. Deep in the night, as the two embraced, Li concubine suddenly bled from all 7 orifices and died on top of my father. His screams echoed through the Duke's estate. Back then, my mother had been angered to death by these very people. Now, this could be considered retribution. Several days later, father finally regained his senses. The coroner examined the body. Li concubine had died from poisoning. That day, the only thing she had consumed was a cup of tea from grandmother's quarters. Father did not dare confront grandmother. He feared outsiders would mock the Duke's household for internal turmoil. So he hid the truth. And so, the bond between mother and son continued to deteriorate. The Empress Dowager had been right, this household valued appearances above all. Because grandmother disliked Li concubine, she also resented the children she bore. How many times had grandmother secretly called Song Qingyuan a vixen, just like her mother? Father feared grandmother would eventually harm Qingyuan. So he searched everywhere and finally secured this marriage with the Wu family for her. Song Qingyuan still didn't understand my words. She stomped her foot angrily. "You're just scaring me. Just wait, I'll tell His Highness why. The danger in the palace is no less than at the border." I wondered if Ta Huizi, in this life, would be able to protect her. I couldn't be bothered to argue with her. I walked straight to Song Yuan's study. Song Yuan was only a year younger than me, yet he feared me terribly. The moment I stepped in, he hurriedly opened a book. "Elder sister, I'm studying. I was only drinking a bowl of sweet soup earlier." Looking at his flustered hands, it was hard to imagine that in my previous life this was the same man who became a titled marquis, a powerful minister, the one even Ta Huaizi, the emperor, had to watch cautiously. Ta Huaizi had feared him for a long time in the previous life. Now that Ta Huaizi had been reborn, he would surely wipe Song Yuan out quietly. I sat across from him. His Majesty has decreed that I marry far away to the borderlands. It's unfamiliar, dangerous. I'm a little afraid. Come with me. You. Afraid. He looked up, eyes steady, without hesitation. If you ask me to go, I'll go. But. I cut him off. Don't worry. I have a way to get you out of the Duke's manor. Song Yuan hesitated. I thought he regretted it. Instead, he smiled. If you don't want to marry, you can go ask the Empress Dowager. Perhaps she'll grant you another husband. The Empress Dowager has gone to the Summer Palace to recover. I won't disturb her over this. I laughed softly. Besides, it doesn't matter who I marry. My marriage was never mine to decide. Not only did Ta Huaizi regret. I regretted too. In this life, no matter whom I marry, I will never again allow myself to become entangled with Ta Huaizi. The next day, the bridal escort from the Hua household arrived before the gates of the Duke's manor. In the previous life, the one who left was Song Qingyuan. This time, the one leaving was me. After so many years apart, my father and I were anything but close. He did not shed tears the way he did when sending Song Qingyuan off to marry in my previous life. Instead, it was grandmother who forced out a few drops, placing a pair of white jade bracelets into my hands. I accepted the bracelets, then glanced at the translucent green jade pair hanging on Song Qingyuan's wrists. This grandmother who always proclaimed she loved me the most, was the best at currying favor. I told my maid Xiaohong to put the bracelets away, then stepped into the carriage. As the curtain fell, I heard father ask the steward. Where's Song Yuan? He always had the best relationship with his legitimate sister. Why didn't he come to see her off? Young master had a high fever last night. After taking his medicine this morning, he fell asleep again. He said he couldn't come. Song Yuan, now dressed as a servant beside me, leaned close and whispered, Elder sister, this excuse of having smallpox can only last half a month at most. If the deputy tutor discovers it, I'll definitely get beaten on the palms. Don't worry, I said. You sneaking out of the manor to see me off on my marriage, embarrassing the Duke's household like this, father and grandmother will help you hide it. That's only because you're marrying so far away, we won't be able to see each other easily afterward. Looking at his shy expression, I couldn't help laughing. He lifted his eyes. Elder sister, why are you laughing? Nothing, I shook my head. I just haven't seen you look like this for a long time. In the previous life, after Song Yuan became an official, the innocence between his brows vanished, only ruthlessness remained. He alone supported me, ensuring I secured the central palace. Song Yuan and I traveled leisurely, slowing our pace often to enjoy the scenery. When the carriage arrived in Ningyuan City, the young Hua general had already taken his last breath. The general's manor was draped in mourning white, the sole banner hanging low. This news was hidden the entire journey. Was this to trick you into coming to the borderlands? Song Yuan clenched his fists, face tense. Elder sister is the legitimate daughter of the Duke's household. How could she suffer such humiliation? In the previous life, I lived as Ta Huaizi's wife for 20 years. I knew exactly how he acted. He definitely concealed the news, so I, like Song Qingyuan before, would be married into the Hua family. I let out a soft, mocking laugh. He overestimates himself. Even if I marry a dead man, I will never marry him. Song Yuan heard me mutter something and turned back. Elder sister, what did you say? Nothing. Whether I marry or not is irrelevant. What matters is staying alive. Song Yuan exhaled. Good thing you asked me to come. Otherwise, I would have been the one drinking that poisoned soup. Yesterday, news reached the capital. A servant in Song Yuan's courtyard secretly drank a bowl of soup delivered from the kitchen and died of poisoning. Song Yuan's feigned illness was exposed. At least this trip wasn't wasted, it saved him from death. After the gatekeeper announced our arrival, General Hua swiftly came out. He had recently lost his son, the grief had hollowed his frame. "Miss Song, please return," he said. "Your marriage with my son, I will petition His Majesty. The engagement shall be annulled." I glanced at the panicked guards near the mourning hall. Has something happened in the general's manor? General Hua did not reply. I stepped forward and lowered my voice. Was there an assassination attempt in the manor? I know a little about antidotes. His expression tightened immediately. "Miss Song, please come with me." He led me into a room. The moment I entered, the thick stench of blood assaulted me. A man lay on the bed, his face drained of all color, lips darkening violet. I recognized him, Ta Yuan. In the previous life, aside from Song Yuan, the person Ta Huizi feared most was Ta Yuan, the mighty prince of Tusu, unmatched in military merit. The military physician held out a blood-stained arrowhead he had just extracted. This arrow carried poison. I've suppressed the toxin for now, but my skills are limited. I cannot identify the poison nor prepare an antidote. "Miss, do you recognize it?" I took the arrow and looked at Deputy General Lin beside Ta Yuan. This arrow can fly no more than 6 jong. The assassin must be someone inside the manor. "We have already detained all personnel," Deputy General Lin said, "but His Highness is succumbing to the poison. Interrogation may be too late." Without another word, I took the poisoned arrow and walked out into the courtyard. The guards were already assembled. I carefully examined them. And as expected, I spotted someone from my past life. Wu Yin, the shadow guard who served beside Ta Huizi. Wu Yin could kill without leaving a trace. In the previous life, who knows how many people he eliminated in secret for Ta Huizi. I walked slowly up to him. He remained composed, clasped his hands formally. Before he could speak, I drove the blood-stained arrow straight into his arm. Wu Yin's pupils contracted sharply. Everyone around froze, stunned into utter silence. The courtyard felt so still that the fall of a needle would have echoed like thunder. "I know you're all death guards serving His Highness." I stepped back, smiling at Wu Yin. "So let you taste the poison in his stead." The toxin on the arrow took effect quickly. Wu Yin's lips turned violet, his face drained of all color, and he collapsed. Writhing, he fumbled for a pill hidden in his chest. I shouted, loud enough for all to hear. "He has the antidote." Deputy General Lin reacted instantly, snatching the pill from Wu Yin's hand. His expression trembled as he looked at me. I nodded. "That's the antidote. Take it to His Highness, now." Deputy General Lin hurried away. I lowered my gaze to Wu Yin lying on the ground and frowned slightly. "Don't tell me, you only brought one antidote." Wu Yin glared at me, the corners of his eyes quickly filling with blood. He vomited a mouthful of black blood, and died. No one had expected it, the deadliest shadow guard under Ta Huizi, dying like this in this life. I looked away and returned to the room. By then, Ta Yuan had already taken the antidote, much of the pallor had faded from his face. He narrowed his eyes slightly at me. "How did you discover the assassin?" I paused. "I once saw that man beside Prince Y. With the relationship between Your Highness and him. I didn't think he'd assign someone so close to him to protect you." Ta Yuan's lips curved faintly. "Miss Song is indeed perceptive. I owe you my life." He ordered Deputy General Lin to personally escort me out. As soon as I stepped outside, Song Yuan rushed toward me from the courtyard, trembling. I just saw them carrying out a corpse covered in blood. They said it was the assassin. "Elder sister, weren't you frightened?" I blinked, then remembered, in Song Yuan's eyes right now, I was still his gentle, fragile elder sister. "I'm fine." The assassin was far from me. As soon as the words left my mouth, I noticed Deputy General Lin's eye twitch subtly. Consort Xian, General Hua's younger sister, was Ta Yuan's birth mother. 12 years ago, after Consort Xian died, Ta Yuan was banished to Ningyuan City by His Majesty and never returned to the capital. Everyone knew Ta Yuan was the least favored prince. But he was also the only remaining bloodline of the Hua family. General Hua, grateful that I saved Ta Yuan's life, treated me with the courtesy reserved for honored guests. Someone beside him whispered, "A few days ago, His Majesty already knew the young general had fallen in battle, yet he did not issue a decree recalling Miss Song. I fear His Majesty intends for her to complete the wedding rites before the young general's memorial tablet." General Hua slammed his fist down, furious. Absurd. Miss Song just saved Ta Yuan. I lowered my voice. If I marry into the Hua family, even if my husband is gone, with the Hua family's protection I can still live a peaceful life. Song Yuan stared at me in disbelief. Elder sister, you're willing. Have you lost your mind? But... I set down my teacup, suddenly shifting topics. More importantly, General, think carefully. That assassin was under Prince Y. If Prince Y ascends the throne, Ta Yuan and the entire Hua family will be left with no path to live. General Hua narrowed his eyes. You mean? Song Yuan quickly lunged forward to cover my mouth. Elder sister is only a weak woman, she's speaking nonsense. General, please don't take her words to heart. I brushed Song Yuan's hand aside and shot him a glare before continuing. What I mean is, there is a traitor inside the manor. The most important thing right now is to investigate thoroughly. Prince Y is a sinister man. When he ascends the throne, he might frame the general for treason at any moment. General Hua understood immediately. I will send men to investigate at once. I took the opportunity to push Song Yuan out a little. My brother isn't just intelligent, he's extremely discreet. He may be able to assist the general. General Hua nodded. Then I must trouble young Master Song. After Song Yuan finished bowing and withdrew, he murmured beside my ear. So that was your true intention. I thought. Thought what? He pouted. Nothing. I sneered inwardly. He surely didn't think I wanted to incite the Hua family to rebel so Ta Yuan could compete with Ta Huaizi, the so-called rightful heir. Such things cannot be spoken openly. They must be done with subtlety, in the shadows. In the previous life, the Hua family, loyal for generations, was destroyed because of a single battle. Their reinforcements were ambushed and slaughtered. General Hua led 5,000 elite soldiers, holding the line for 7 days and nights, dying under tens of thousands of enemy blades. Ta Huaizi seemed to know the battle's outcome beforehand. He had already sent men to Ningyuan City to bring Song Qingyuan back. Yet Song Qingyuan fled toward the capital carrying money, and died under a bandit's blade. Ta Huaizi's men found only her corpse. When he brought her suicide letter filled with resentment to accuse me, even the news of General Hua's death had not yet reached the capital. Back then, I wondered, how could Ta Huaizi know the exact situation at the border? Unless the entire disaster had been his trap from the start. Under my guidance, Song Yuan began investigating the assets of the soldiers under General Hua. He quickly discovered that the elderly mother of one of General Hua's trusted aides, originally from a destitute family, somehow owned a large residence in the capital. Under strict interrogation, the aide admitted the house was gifted by Minister Liu. Minister Liu, Ta Huaizi's maternal grandfather. In the previous life, in order to eliminate potential threats and help Ta Huaizi ascend the throne sooner, Minister Liu had orchestrated the downfall of meritorious generals like General Hua. Years after General Hua died in battle, the border collapsed. Ta Huaizi could only cede land to appease foreign forces. If Ta Yuan hadn't fought bitterly for months afterward, driving the enemy back 300 li, Ta Huaizi's dynasty would have been torn apart like a carcass. When General Hua saw the blood-stained confession, he immediately wanted to execute the traitor on the spot. I exchanged a quick glance with Song Yuan. Song Yuan stood up and advised, General Hua, killing him now will only alert the enemy. They may plant replacements by your side. If you keep him alive, then whatever messages he sends, will be whatever you choose to let him send. I looked at Song Yuan, and for a moment, it felt like I was looking at the brilliant strategist he would become in the previous life. Truly, he was worth all the effort I had invested in him. At that moment, I didn't realize that Tai Yuan, still weak and pale, had taken in every shift of expression on my face. I lifted the corner of my lips and met his gaze, a gaze tinged with quiet scrutiny. He curved his lips. I recall that in the palace, Miss Song always treated second prince the best. And now, my heart suddenly tightened. Ta Huizi and I had been childhood sweethearts. Everyone knew I loved him. Yet now I stood openly against him. I couldn't possibly explain to Ta Yuan that I had been reborn. General Hua coughed lightly. Miss Song is a person of great principle. She doesn't concern herself with such personal matters. My back straightened instinctively. After the banquet ended, Song Yuan pondered briefly, then hurried to my side. They all used to say you would marry Prince Y. I also thought you liked him. But now, clearly not. I raised a brow, expecting him to praise my sense of duty. But instead, he said, Don't tell me the person you admire is Prince Tusu. My foot slipped, and I nearly tumbled down the stone step. I do not. I glared at him, only to see Tai Yuan standing not far away, looking straight at me. I stiffened, then quickly fled. Song Yuan chased after me. If not, then why are you running? By the time I reached my room, my heart felt ready to jump out of my throat. I drank several cups of water before calming down. I had thought, even if we were entangled in our past lives, in this one Tai Yuan and I could be strangers passing by. Unease lingered until late at night. Only then did I fall into a restless sleep. In the haze of dreams, I saw my previous life. At that time, Ta Huizi had secured the throne and made me empress. The virtuous, gentle empress, yet utterly neglected. I walked the path to supreme power with him, but at some point, the deep affection of our youth had turned to a gulf between strangers. His favorite concubine resembled me, her brows and eyes, even her lively nature, all like who I used to be. People said that meant I still lived in his heart. But to me, it was laughable. I wasn't even dead, yet he already needed a substitute. That substitute, relying on his favor, had once offended me. I punished her to kneel outside the palace gates. In less than half an hour, blood pooled beneath her. The physician said she miscarried. Ta Huizi flew into a rage and punished me to copy sutras in the Buddha Hall for a month. It was then I discovered that the Buddha Hall was the quietest place in the palace. Whenever I couldn't sleep, I would go there. One silent night, I was awakened by movement behind the screen. Your Majesty, I have investigated. Consort Lan was never pregnant. She bribed the physician and framed Her Majesty. I know. Ta Huizi stood before the nameless memorial tablet, his voice cold. I punished her intentionally, so she would kneel before Qing Yuan's spirit every day. If not for her, Qing Yuan would never have died miserably in that barbaric land. Qing Yuan. That nameless memorial tablet was Song Qing Yuan's. Only then did I realize, Consort Lan resembled Song Qing Yuan even more than she resembled me. Song Qing Yuan had died. Ta Huizi once brought her suicide letter to confront me. My explanations, he had believed. He even comforted me. He said he understood me, that I could never be as cruel as the letter claimed. So he had been lying, all along. I had nearly forgotten Song Qing Yuan existed. Yet unexpectedly, after her death, she was the one living in his heart. Ta Huizi turned to Wu Yin. Are the preparations ready? All is ready. But your majesty, no matter how much you dislike her, she is still the empress. Doing this may damage your reputation. Do it discreetly, Ta Huaizi said, voice dark with hatred. If she hadn't forced her father to send Qing Yuan to the border, Qing Yuan would never have lost her purity, never have been humiliated to death. I want her to taste that shame. Even after years as husband and wife, he still wished to destroy me in such a vile way. I hid behind the screen, ice spreading through my bones, my limbs numb for a long, long time. Later, when Wu Ying couldn't find a chance to act inside my chambers, he chose to strike during the mid-autumn banquet. During the feast, the poisoned wine meant for me was switched to Ta Huaizi, who then rewarded it to Ta Yuan, the man who had just rendered great service. Ta Yuan was a poor drinker. After a few sips, he retired to the side hall. The unnatural flush on his face caught my eye. I sensed something was wrong. Before returning to my chambers, I slipped into the side hall. I took out the antidote I always carried and was about to place it in his mouth when he suddenly opened his eyes. His hand clamped around my wrist. Heat seeped through the fabric of my sleeve. Even the air felt scorching. I looked at him and whispered, "The wine you drank was drugged by Ta Huaizi, it was meant for me. This is the antidote." His brows tightened, his voice low and hoarse. "Then, where is the antidote?" The pill had slipped from my fingers when he grabbed me. I didn't know where it rolled. My voice trembled. It fell. Ta Yuan drew in a deep breath. "If you run now, there's still a way to survive." I stepped back 2 paces, then stopped. I walked toward him again, wrapped an arm around his shoulders, and raised my eyes to his. If I run, that's when I truly have no way to survive. His gaze darkened, streaked with pain. He didn't understand what I meant, and there was no time left to think. His fingers tightened around my waist, sharp enough to bruise. Ta Yuan lowered his head and crushed his lips against mine. Night dew fell in heavy drops outside the window, clinging to the peony blossoms. I was tossed onto the soft chaise. Ta Yuan grabbed my ankle and dragged me into a tide of searing heat. By the time dawn broke, I dragged my exhausted body back to my chambers. The guard arranged to ruin my chastity had become a blood-soaked corpse, being carried out of the palace. Ta Huaizi sneered at me. "Song Jin Yuan, after doing something so disgraceful, how dare you sit on the throne of empress?" I lowered my eyes, examining my freshly tinted nails, and allowed a slow smile. Naturally, I had to try someone else, to realize His Majesty's bedroom skills were merely average. Ta Huaizi turned livid. He had come to humiliate me, yet ended up humiliated himself. In the past life, Ta Yuan never married. Everyone believed he was indifferent to women. No one knew that every few days, I disguised myself as a palace maid and slipped out to his manor. Other than sharing a bed with him, I told him the truth behind General Hua's death that year, fanning the flames between him and Ta Huaizi. Ta Yuan held the military power. Only when Ta Huaizi grew increasingly wary of him did he become desperate to gather allies. It was during this time that Song Yuan rose step by step. For the stability of the court, Ta Huaizi grew more dependent on the Song family's influence. He didn't dare touch me. All he could do was neglect me. Unfortunately, Consort Lan lacked vision. Seeing me fall from favor, she wanted to eliminate me and take my place. She hid cranetop red poison beneath her nails and mixed it into a bowl of bird's nest soup meant for me. I accepted the bowl and walked straight up to her, letting out a soft sigh. Consort Lan looks clever, yet this bird's nest soup was undercooked. Her voice trembled. "If your majesty dislikes my preparation, I can make another." Not far away, Ta Yuan, who had been watching me, slowly shifted his gaze. I smiled. "Whether you made it well or not, it would be a waste if I didn't drink it." She exhaled in relief. I continued, "Then I shall grant it, to you." Before she could react, I seized her chin. The entire bowl was poured down her throat. She soon foamed at the mouth and collapsed. My maid rushed forward, pried open her fingers, saw the poison hidden under her nails, and shouted. Consort Lan dared to poison the Empress. I lifted my gaze toward Ta Huaizi. Your Majesty, for this crime, even exterminating her 9 clans wouldn't be excessive. During the banquet, everyone stared in horror as I poured poison into the favored concubine's mouth, only to quickly rearrange their faces into masks of fear. Only Ta Yuan drank his wine calmly. Before the entire court, I had just killed the woman Ta Huaizi favored most. His eyes were bloodshot, hatred carving into his bones. But caught in broad daylight, he couldn't punish me, he could only pretend to comfort me. The moment he comforted me, the fear on my face vanished. I stood, watching Consort Lan's corpse being carried away, and whispered to Ta Huaizi. Your Majesty likes the dead, doesn't he? Surely he likes Consort Lan even more now. Ta Huaizi's eyes burned crimson. He ground out, you venomous woman. Once the matter was settled and the victim removed, Ta Huaizi immediately fell ill. Perhaps from Consort Lan's death, perhaps from my provocation. The eunuch said he burned with fever and cursed me even in his sleep. That night, I was pinned beneath Ta Yuan. He gripped my chin, forcing me to meet his eyes. So I was part of your schemes as well. His cold, deep eyes, like a frozen lake, fixed on me in the moonlight. You made me oppose Ta Huaizi. Wasn't that to strengthen your clan's position? To force Ta Huaizi into sparing you? With you, I lived. So you are my life. I wrapped my arm around his shoulder, leaned close to his ear, and whispered. If one day Ta Huaizi truly tries to kill me, will you save me? The chill in Ta Yuan's gaze spread slowly. His movements suddenly turned fierce, stealing the breath from my lungs. A long while later, I finally heard him let out a cold laugh. Of course not. When I woke from that dream, I exhaled a long breath. In the previous life, Ta Yuan had been just as ruthless to me in bed. Remembering it in this life only felt colder. I was still thinking about how to deal with the reborn Ta Huaizi once I returned to the capital, when I pushed open the door and saw Ta Yuan standing beneath a pear tree in the courtyard, watching me. A light breeze stirred. Pale petals drifted down like falling snow. I looked at the white petals on his shoulder and frowned. How long has your highness been standing here? Were you waiting for me? He seemed dazed for a moment, then said, Miss Song saved my life. I should escort you safely back to the capital. I pressed my lips together. In truth, I'm not as noble as General Hua thinks. I saved you, so that one day I might save myself. Ta Yuan didn't understand. Why does Miss Song need to save her own life? I stayed silent for a moment, then began weaving lies. I once harmed the one Ta Huaizi loved. He is a venomous man who avenges every grievance. Without protection, I'll die at his hands. Miss Song is honest indeed. So last night, when Song Yuan said I admired your highness, no, that's not true. I only wished to use you. In the previous life, to fight Ta Huaizi, I used Ta Yuan for an entire lifetime. In this life, conscience flickered within me, I didn't want to deceive him again. But Ta Yuan simply smiled gently. It doesn't matter. As long as you know that I admire you, it's enough. I stared at him. Ta Yuan of the previous life had been all sharp edges, murderous aura. I had never seen him smile so gently. Not until he turned to leave did I come back to myself. Just now. Did Ta Yuan say he admired me? Why would he admire me? On the carriage back to the capital, I whispered to Song Yuan. Song Yuan thought for a moment, then said, in operas, isn't it always written, repaying a life-saving grace with one's body? I blinked. But isn't that usually done by women? Why would it be limited to women? Song Yuan grew serious. If you can marry the Prince of Tusu, it doesn't seem like a bad outcome. His Majesty has always favored Ta Huaizi as the rightful eldest son. After Ta Huaizi ascends the throne. I let out a cold laugh. Wouldn't that make it convenient to wipe both of us out together? As soon as I said it, a low voice came from outside the carriage. Don't worry. I won't let him sit on that throne. Hearing Ta Yuan's voice, my ears burned. Only after the sound of hooves faded into the distance did I dare speak again. Did he hear everything we just said? Is he planning to betray the throne for me? Song Yuan blinked. You've never heard that line of verse. Ask the world what love is, that men would live and die together. Live and die together. Surely it hasn't reached that point. Ta Yuan arrived in the capital 2 days earlier than we did. Song Yuan asked, is the Prince of Tusu going to the palace to ask His Majesty to grant him marriage with you? That Taoist the emperor met in Jiangnan said I'm a bringer of misfortune, someone who would ruin the mandate of the heavens. I scoffed. How could His Majesty ever agree to marry me into the imperial clan? What if the Prince of Tusu kneels and refuses to rise, even threatening his life? That is not the Ta Yuan I know. When Song Yuan and I returned to the Duke's manor, everything had changed. Though General Hua had already submitted a petition to annul my engagement, the rumor that the Taoist Su Cheng calculated me as unlucky had spread across the capital. Some even whispered that Hu Changfeng died because I brought misfortune. Upon returning home, I went from a cherished, exalted daughter, to the disgrace of the household. In contrast, Song Qingyuan, whom Taoist Su Cheng declared born with a phoenix fate, became the most revered person in the Duke's estate. Not only was she to become Prince Consort Huai, she was soon to enter the Eastern Palace with Ta Huaizi, future Crown Princess, future Empress. Song Qingyuan rarely returned home, but when she did, she casually remarked that Song Hui's courtyard was too dark for studying. Immediately, my courtyard was reassigned to Song Hui. I was moved to a remote corner. Song Yuan was furious. Grandmother speaks nothing but barbs to you now. She always hated Song Qingyuan and Song Hui, but now she treasures them like jewels. Grandmother worships status. Father has always been cold. I was expressionless. There's nothing surprising about my situation after returning to the capital. Song Yuan sighed. Still, you handle things better than I do. Of course. After all, I had lived an extra lifetime. I had already seen all of this before. These matters no longer mattered. I lifted my gaze and said solemnly, most important is that Master Yi, once an imperial academician, is willing to teach you. You must study well. Song Yuan nodded firmly. Don't worry. I'll pass the examinations. One day, you won't have to suffer any grievances again. In the previous life, he truly accomplished that. But in this life, as long as Ta Huaizi lives, Song Yuan will never pass the examinations. Worse, Ta Huaizi will try every method to eliminate him. Fortunately, although Master Yi retired to his hometown, the Yi family had operated in Jiangnan for a century. Once Song Yuan enters the Yi household, Ta Huaizi will no longer have an easy chance to harm him. I lifted my head and smiled at Song Yuan. Study well. This time, let me be the one protecting you. After Song Yuan's carriage departed, I stood at the gate for a long moment before turning back in. I stared blankly at the pink camellias in the garden, then suddenly met a pair of dark, brooding eyes. Ta Huaizi. My entire body froze. Had he discovered that I secretly sent Song Yuan to Jiangnan? Impossible. Song Yuan had left through the small side gate used by servants. Someone of Ta Huaizi's status would never lower himself to pass through there. I steadied my breathing, bowed, and asked softly. Why has your highness come here? He frowned at me. Why are you so cold toward me? I stepped back, lowered my lashes to hide my expression. Your highness has already married my younger sister. I understand the separation required between men and women. He let out a small laugh. I know you're angry that I couldn't marry you. But with your reputation now, at most, you could only become my concubine outside the manor. The very first time he met me after rebirth, he couldn't wait to humiliate me. I laughed icily. Everyone in the capital knows I bring misfortune. If I follow your highness, I may doom you to utter ruin, perhaps even an unmarked grave. Ta Huaizi's pupils contracted sharply. He seized my wrist. What did you say? I jerked his hand off. Your highness, please conduct yourself properly. I no longer wished to entangle myself with him and turned to leave, only to see Song Qingyuan approaching with several attendants, having apparently gone to look for him. You shameless woman! She shrieked. How dare you seduce his highness with your vixen tricks? I let out a cool laugh. My courtyard is remote and hard to reach. For his highness to appear here means he came seeking me. Are you blind, younger sister? You. Song Qingyuan choked on her words. Her maid whispered by her ear. You are noble. She's no different from an orphan now. There are many ways to punish her, no need to dirty your hands here. Song Qingyuan smirked triumphantly. Just wait. During the meal, Song Qingyuan glanced at my father and said with feigned concern. Father, elder sister has no suitors now. Aren't you worried? Father looked embarrassed. This matter. She sighed dramatically. In a grand family, it's inevitable people will look down on her. You should help elder sister notice some scholars without strong family backgrounds, so she doesn't miss her chance. So that was her goal, she wanted me to stay unmarried until I became a joke. A legitimate daughter of the Duke's household marrying a poor scholar, nothing could humiliate me more. She blinked innocently, continuing. With father's support, elder sister's future husband will surely achieve something. Father finally found a step to descend on. You're always so considerate of your sister. I'll look into it. Song Qingyuan shot me a satisfied look. I ate my meal quietly, as if none of it had anything to do with me. Grandmother looked at Song Qingyuan fondly. From childhood to now, anything you ask your father, he's never refused. The moment she finished speaking, a sharp clatter rang out. Ta Huaizi had dropped his chopsticks. He was staring at Song Qingyuan with a complicated expression. No wonder. In the previous life, Song Qingyuan wrote in her death letter that before marriage she had been nothing but a concubine-born girl I could bully at will. How could she have imagined that, at home, she acted like the cherished jewel of the household? In the previous life, Ta Huaizi and I had torn each other apart over a grudge that never existed, destroying each other until nothing remained. Thankfully, in this life, there would be no entanglement between us. Late at night, just as I removed my hairpin, a black shadow slipped in through the window. The night wind rushed in. The candle flickered violently, then went out. Despite having experienced this many times in the previous life, I still flinched. Ta Yuan's low voice came through the darkness. Why are you living in such a remote courtyard? I nearly went into the wrong room. By moonlight, I looked at him. Did you almost break into Song Hui's room? His expression chilled. Then I'd have killed him with a single strike. Still the same Ta Yuan, violent, impulsive, ready to kill at the slightest irritation. I stood, lit the candle, and poured him a cup of tea. He accepted it, and his voice softened. The thing you asked me to do, I've already arranged everything. You'll see results in 2 months. Ta Yuan looked at me through the candlelight, his features deepening in the dim glow. He stared for a long time. I met his gaze. Are you wondering why I can foresee events, just like Ta Huaizi? He raised a brow. You'll speak if you want. If you don't, you must have your reasons. It's nothing difficult to say. It only depends on whether your highness believes me. I paused, then continued. For me, this life is simply living again after death. Many things I've already experienced once. As for the second prince, I drew a breath, he is the same as I am. Reborn. I looked at him steadily. I've told you everything. Does that count as deceiving you? He didn't answer. Instead, he asked quietly. In that previous life you mentioned, what was the relationship between you and me? What relationship? Of course, it was a relationship that could never be spoken aloud. I pressed my lips together and muttered under my breath. I only wanted to use you for revenge, and I didn't even succeed. He stared fixedly at me. What did you say? My eyes drifted away. Nothing. When Ta Yuan left, he turned back once. There was a faint, unreadable smile at the corner of his lips. You've already lived one lifetime, he said quietly. So many things from the past no longer count. No longer count. What things no longer count? His gaze lingered on me for a long moment before he continued. This time, I will protect you. For the past few months, the Taoist Su Cheng had correctly predicted several major events in the capital. His reputation for flawless divination left not only His Majesty, but even the civil and military officials deeply convinced by his words. And I had guessed correctly. Every accurate prediction came from Ta Huizi himself, speaking in advance of things he remembered from his past life. But Ta Huizi had been high above the world for 2 lifetimes, untouched by dust. He didn't know that the disasters he told Su Cheng to predict could shift with the slightest disturbance. The workers on the river embankment were originally offered extra payment. They extended construction by 1 month. This delayed the river breach by 3 days compared to the previous life. Last life, lightning struck the East Market, burning over 100 stalls. This time, because the metal fittings had been removed in advance and patrols were increased, the fire was contained quickly. Instead, the West Market caught fire after a lightning strike. One disruption after another, enough to destroy Su Cheng's reputation entirely. In the previous life, Ta Huizi was still 2 years away from being named Crown Prince at this point. But now, he had already entered the Eastern Palace. Su Cheng's help must have played a part. Recently, Su Cheng's predictions had turned into a chain of failures, angering the emperor. Before Ta Huizi could kill him to silence him, Ta Yuan dragged Su Cheng before His Majesty. The Taoist, terrified out of his wits, no longer looked remotely like the area mortal he pretended to be. His whole body shook, and he couldn't utter a full sentence. Ta Yuan presented the letters exchanged between Su Cheng and Ta Huizi. As expected, every so-called prophecy had come from Ta Huizi. His Majesty, after raging, stared at the letters and muttered. How could the Crown Prince foresee these calamities? I've heard there are common folk who study the heavens and predict disasters, Ta Yuan said coolly, glancing at Su Cheng trembling on the ground. But they are mere mortals, none can truly spy on heaven's secrets. At that moment, I supported the Empress Dowager, just recovered from illness, into the Grand Hall. A cold smile curved her lips. The Crown Prince has always been His Majesty's favorite. The position would be his sooner or later. Why would he stoop to such pathetic tricks to deceive the Emperor? His Majesty's expression darkened. This rebellious son. The Empress Dowager narrowed her phoenix eyes, scanning the servants around His Majesty. I see His Majesty's complexion is far from normal today. You worthless servants, how do you attend to him daily? A eunuch reported quickly. The pills Taoist Su Cheng offered contain no poison, but they do contain Lilu extract. His Majesty often drank ginseng wine. If taken along with the pills, it would severely drain his vital energy. The Empress Dowager laughed and asked me. I was the one who had the imperial physicians test those pills and add Lilu. But not all the imperial medical office belongs to me. How did you know the Emperor's health was failing? I pressed my lips together and answered softly. Your Majesty once told me His Majesty is burdened daily by state affairs and has a harem of beauties numbering in the thousands. Since ancient times, few emperors escape weakness of the body. I thought even if the physicians found something, they wouldn't dare say it. Today, the pills simply gave them an excuse. Hearing this, the Empress Dowager, still weak, allowed a faint smile to appear. You aren't even married yet, and you speak so boldly. That night, His Majesty ordered Su Cheng's execution and decreed the abolition of Ta Huaizi's crown prince title. However, the decree had not yet been announced publicly. Ta Huaizi was only imprisoned in the inner dungeon. After I helped the Empress Dowager take her medicine and sleep, I returned to my quarters. Xiao Hong, tidying the bedding, told me the news from the Duke's manor. The second young lady has returned home to rest and nurse her pregnancy. She must have sensed something. The maid said she's been selling her jewelry these past days. Maybe she's trying to bribe someone to save the now deposed crown prince. It's the inner dungeon, I said flatly. She has no means to bribe anyone under His Majesty's eyes. But the smile on my lips froze. I instructed Xiao Hong. Have our people watch her closely. The next day, just as I expected, Song Qingyuan took banknotes and disguised herself as a maid, attempting to flee the capital. So she repeats her stupidity from the previous life. In that life, before leaving for battle, General Hua had arranged an elite escort to bring the women of his manor back to the capital. But Song Qingyuan, greedy as ever, stole their gold during the chaos, sneaking back alone. Along her escape route, corpses littered the roads. In her excitement, she wrote a suicide letter, intending to find a disfigured female corpse, dress it in her clothes, and use it to frame me. Unexpectedly, that letter became her real suicide note. Last life, by the time I uncovered the truth, Song Qingyuan was already dead. This life, I finally caught her. Now that Ta Huaizi was imprisoned, her escaping the capital was high treason. I merely nudged the situation forward and sent her into the inner dungeon, to keep Ta Huaizi company. Ta Huaizi would never have expected that before he was jailed, all he cared about was protecting Song Qingyuan, sending her to the Duke's manor. Yet the woman he loved for 2 lifetimes abandoned him at the first sign of danger. Ta Huaizi demanded to see me in the inner dungeon. I didn't want to see him. In the following days, he no longer caused trouble. The guards said he often sat alone, expression vacant, muttering, "Those who betray me must die." They all said he had gone mad, daring to call himself me. After the Empress Dowager's funeral, Minister Liu finally lost patience. He sent word to the mole in the Hua manor to poison General Hua and seize the military command. He intended to rescue Ta Huaizi, launch a palace coup, and force His Majesty to abdicate. General Hua pretended to go along with the plan, letting the spy send a reply stating that the takeover had succeeded. When General Hua returned to the capital, the moment he reached the city gate, my father, who held some authority over the city patrol, led the patrol troops into the palace. My father was always a timid, cautious man, yet he dared take such a risk under Minister Liu's provocation. Perhaps it was to save Song Qingyuan, the one he loved most. Perhaps it was to reclaim the wealth and glory he had almost held. Before long, the inner prison sent news. Father had rescued Ta Huaizi and Song Qingyuan. Still dreaming of becoming the future imperial father-in-law, father then watched Ta Huaizi drive a sword straight into Song Qingyuan's chest. Even after she stopped breathing, Ta Huaizi wasn't satisfied. He stabbed her several more times, until her body was nothing but blood and torn flesh. Blood splashed into his eyes, dyeing them a vivid red. Ta Huaizi looked like a true madman. Father fainted on the spot. After killing Song Qingyuan, the next person he wanted dead was me. He led troops to rush into Xianing Palace. I could not enter the imperial mausoleum due to my status. At that time, I was at Xianing Palace for the Empress Dowager's mourning. Ta Huaizi rode his horse straight into the courtyard, blood-stained sword pointing at me. I should have known. You were reborn too. Anyone who betrays me must die. You and I have always schemed against each other, I said calmly. I too would have killed you, if I could. Betrayal is irrelevant. Enough. I won't pursue matters of the previous life, he rasped, closing his eyes. If you yield to me a little, I can still give you, and your brother, a path to live. I couldn't help laughing aloud. You're this insane, and still think you can give me a way to live. In the previous life, I conspired with Tai Yuan, I said softly, coldly. I helped him build power not only to secure Song Yuan's future, but so he would one day kill you and take the throne you couldn't bear to lose. If you want to know who betrayed you the most, wasn't it me? Ta Huizi's bloodshot eyes bulged with murderous rage. Veins protruded along his forehead. He leapt off his horse. Song Jin Yuan. You're courting death. His eyes were wild, sword swinging toward me. In the next instant, an arrow whistled past my ear and pierced his shoulder. He fell, and 2 more arrows slammed into him, pinning him to the ground. I lowered my gaze to him and smiled faintly. You've never heard of the tactic of provocation. Not far away, dust billowed. Hoofbeats pounded closer and closer. Oh, one more thing, I said lightly. That mole named Sure. I already helped General Hua capture him. I suppose General Hua is entering the palace right now, to rescue His Majesty. I watched the last glimmer of hope fade from Ta Huizi's eyes. Your defeat in this life, I said softly, is absolute. Suddenly, Ta Huizi looked terrified. As if he saw a demon rising from hell. I turned and saw Ta Yuan leaping off his horse, murderous aura rolling off him. Why aren't you at the palace defending His Majesty? I asked. That old man is not as important as you. Ta Yuan pulled me behind him, gaze turning icy as he looked at Ta Huizi's bloody figure. He went to find you. To kill you. Seeing him, Ta Huizi shrank back, dragging his mangled body across the floor. He ripped the arrow from his shoulder with a snarl. Ta Yuan stepped forward, blocking my view. And all I saw was the spray of blood arcing through the air and splattering across the stone tiles. Through the haze, I heard Ta Yuan's low voice. He killed himself. Sunset drenched the sky in crimson. The palace coup finally ended. By nightfall, the throne belonged to Ta Yuan. As dusk settled, Ta Yuan smiled faintly and asked. He doesn't think he'll have another chance, does he? No, I said. He was simply too afraid of you. Ta Yuan was never one for expressing emotions. When he wanted to marry me, he pulled me aside, analyzing the pros and cons with great seriousness. Your father is a criminal now, he said. If you don't marry me, Song Yuan will grow up labeled the son of a criminal, with no future. Resting my chin on my hand, I asked him quietly, you truly don't mind that I'm calculating? You should know. In the past, I approached you only to use you, to borrow your hand to eliminate Ta Huizi. Even so, he murmured, gaze steady, a soft laugh escaping him. Out of everyone, you chose to use me. If you weren't calculating, I would have already died under an assassin's blade. My eyes curved with a smile. Then I'll give you a chance to repay me with your body. No need for you to give. Ta Yuan glanced at me. When I defended the palace, Father asked what reward I wanted. I said, I want to marry her. When the mourning period ends, the imperial decree will arrive at the Song estate. 3 years later, I became the Central Palace Empress. On our wedding night, Ta Yuan brushed aside the damp strands of hair on my forehead. Desire streaked red across his eyes. Only 3 years of mourning, he whispered, yet it feels like a lifetime has passed. I wrapped my arms around his neck, kissed him, and murmured against his ear. It's because your heart already holds me. Late into the night, exhausted, I drifted into sleep. In my dreams, I returned to the previous life. The night of my death. The palace had been aflame, blood everywhere. Ta Yuan stood before the grand hall, expression blank. When he saw me, he smiled faintly. I listened to you, he said. I killed him. He smiled as tears streaked down his face. Thin crimson lines like bleeding silk. Half conscious, I opened my eyes. Ta Yuan was wiping the corners of my eyes with his fingertips. Why are you crying? When I didn't answer, he pulled me tightly into his arms. "Sleep," he whispered. "My empress." Resting against his chest, I suddenly murmured his name. Ta Yuan. Moonlight traced his quiet features. He lifted his lashes, voice weary. I whispered into his ear. "In this life, let's live well." My eyes slowly closed as his voice brushed my ear. "All right." The end.